Hello and welcome to the morning sports briefing here on Wednesday, the 11th of November. I hope you're having a wonderful week, folks, and we have a cracker for you on the standoff show this evening at 8 p.m. as Cameron George will be joining Brad on the show for his end of season review. So if you have any questions that you think that Brad should ask Cameron, then do let us know either via Facebook or on Twitter at Driving Mall or New Zealand Sports Radio on Facebook for that one. In the news this morning, we have spats in the America's Cup, which seems to be the norm now, doesn't it? Let's be honest. The Super Rugby schedule for 2021 has been announced. And we also have a new Black Ferns captain as well. Israel Adesanya has got stuck in the States, and so that will impact on his return and also the boxing Junior Far's preparation for his bout against Joseph Parker. We have a former chief starting for Ireland in the Autumn Nations Cup over in Europe, and we have that sailing news and cycling news that I said I would bring you yesterday, or yesterday I said I'd bring you today. Yes, folks, I can see Ashwin smiling in the green room because I think it's all those cars driving past my new studio. I do need to do some soundproofing, I think. I'm sorry for all that background noise. It was rain yesterday, and it's cars driving around today. But let's get into that cycling news just after I've had to sneeze. I'll try and mute myself. See, a dusty old garage. That's what it does to you. Next year, the New Zealand Cycle Classic will be taking place in the Wairarapa, starting on the 13th of January, before it will have a finish on a circuit in Wellington on the 17th of January. So that looks like being another good stage race just after we've had the SBS Bank Tour of Southland. There's another good stage race lined up for January on the New Zealand cycling calendar. So great to see that event going ahead. Over in Raglan, we had the Queen of the Point surfing competition at the weekend, and congratulations to Paige Hareb from Taranaki, who took out the women's competition there, first one since lockdown, first competition since lockdown, and also the last competition of 2020. Over on the men's side, and Billy Stearman won the men's competition as a King of the Point. He's someone that we interviewed on the Long Talk earlier this year, and is looking forward to trying to make it to the Olympics. And Paige is also looking at hopefully competing internationally next year, but they're waiting on news as to what's going to happen with the World Surfing League. Moving on then to the cricket, I'm going to hand you over to Ashwin for his update.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning to all our viewers and listeners on the interwebs. And it was the Indians that took out their fifth IPL title. The powerful Mumbai Indians have taken out the 2020 IPL with a fairly comprehensive performance over the Delhi Capitals. Batting first, the Capitals got off to a shaky start in the final, losing Marcus Stoinis, the Hulk, first ball of the match to Trent Boult. They were in further trouble at 33 for 2 before a recovery from Suresh Iyer and Rishabh Pant. Iyer getting 65 or 50 deliveries and Pant 56 from 38. But the total of 156 for 7 wasn't enough, with a powerful start to the innings from the Indians. Rohit Sharma and Quinton de Kock setting up the innings well, with all of the top order contributing. There was a late flurry of wickets, but the Indians got to their target of 157 fairly comfortably with an over and 2 balls to spare. So there we go. We have the Mumbai Indians as the 2020 IPL champions. Pakistan have had another comfortable 2020 win over Zimbabwe. Batting first, Zimbabwe, as they have in all their T20 matches, struggled to lift the run rate and lost wickets regularly in an attempt to do so. They got through to 129 for the loss of 9 wickets off their 20 overs. In reply, Pakistan shuffled their batting lineup a little, but the result was no less emphatic, and they reached the target of 130 with nearly 5 overs to spare. And in more news out of Pakistan, Babar Azam has been appointed as the Pakistan's new Test captain. Azam has been the white ball captain for Pakistan, and his first assignment as Test captain will be against New Zealand at Mount Maunganui starting on Boxing Day. And in some interesting news, the Black Cap players that have been involved in the IPL will be flying out of Dubai on Friday, and they will be going into a bubble in the same hotel that the Wallabies spent their isolation period in. Now, what's interesting about it is the fact is that we'll be having guest coaches in that bubble, and they will be Brendan McCullum and Shane Bond, as they will be in the same bubble, and they will be acting as coaches for the returning players Kane Williamson, Trent Bolt, Jimmy Neesham, Lockie Ferguson, Mitchell Satner, Tim Seifert. So basically what will be happening is those players will remain in a separate bubble to the rest of the Black Caps, and Shane Bond and Brendan McCullum will be acting as their coaches while we're in that bubble. Now, a day before the first T20 match, those bubbles will merge. With the powers combined, those bubbles will merge, and they will come. The Black Cap squad will be reunited. And that, Paul, is our cricket news for today.
With the powers combined. Oh, wow, you really are throwing it out there with the terms today, aren't you? Yes. A similar thing is happening for the opposition as well, who also will have split bubbles going into that. Not perfect, but hey, at least the games are going ahead, which I think has got to be the important thing.
I think that's the key thing about it, is the fact is that there's it's about getting games happening, not necessarily the ideal scenarios to have them in, but just making sure, trying to get to some sort of normal.
Yep, exactly. And I'm sure you'll be giving us updates about all of that on Swinging from the Hip on Monday evening at 8 p.m.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ashwin. Moving on then to the Formula One. And in the Formula One, the Vietnamese Grand Prix has been dropped from the 2021 calendar. The reason for this is that the Hanoi's People's Committee Chairman, Duc Chung, has been arrested for alleged appropriation of documents containing state secrets. Chung was a key figure in setting up the race in Vietnam, and authorities have told Formula One that the government has other priorities, including elections, the pandemic, and recovering from a typhoon. And you've got to say all those things should take precedence over a Formula One race. And so there'll be 2 years that the race has not taken place. Also, there are question marks around the race in Brazil. It's has been moved to Sao Paulo, but the track is yet to be built, and there are controversies around the track because of forestry that has to be cut down. So we'll see whether the Brazil Grand Prix will go ahead, and that is also provisional. Aside from that, the 2021 calendar looks very similar to the 2020 calendar before, obviously, all of the COVID changes, and we'll start on the 21st of March in Australia with the Melbourne Grand Prix, before heading over to Bahrain on the 28th of March and then to China on the 11th of April. Currently, the 25th of April is to be confirmed, which is where the Vietnamese Grand Prix would have sat, and then it's into the back to Europe for the Spanish Grand Prix in early May. Over and in the Masters, and apparently it is going to be a super soft Masters course this year. So the bounce of the ball is not going to be great. So your long hitters are going to have an advantage over those that are short hitters at the Masters this weekend. So looking forward to that tournament starting. I'll keep you up to date with how that is progressing and particularly how our Kiwi entrants will be going. I believe we'll have 2 in that one, Michael Campbell and also Danny Lee. I believe both qualified for the Masters. Moving on then to fighting, and Junior Fast's preparation for his fight against Joseph Parker has been hit because he's going to be without the services of Israel Adesanya, Brad Riddell, and also Carlos Ulberg. Apparently, MMA fighters are very good at mimicking other fighters, and so are very good at sparring partners. So that is going to obviously impact Junior's preparation for the fight on the December the 12th, due to COVID regulations and getting travel. The new isolation travel voucher system means that they cannot get back until the December the 15th, when they will be in quarantine, and obviously will be in quarantine then over Christmas. Moving on then to the America's Cup, and in the America's Cup there has been a falling out between Team New Zealand and also the MBIE, which are the government agency that is the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment that is handling some of the funding. There's an allegation that they acted inappropriately during the investigations earlier this year. They're denying that, but Team New Zealand has apparently lodged complaints with the Ombudsman, etc. So not good to see parties not that are supposed to be working together arguing instead. But let's hope we still get a good America's Cup delivered. Over then into rugby, and congratulations to Eloise Blackwell, who's been named as the Black Ferns captain ahead of their 2 games against the Barbarians. 9 uncapped players have been announced in the squad, with Kendra Kotzich being named as the vice captain. So 2 games this weekend in Henderson or Waitakere, and then the following weekend down in Nelson. So do get along to those games if you can. The one this weekend will also have a World Cup qualifier between Samoa and Tonga as a curtain raiser for the game. So some cracking rugby over there in West Auckland this coming Saturday. The Super Rugby Aotearoa schedule has been announced, and also has a new naming rights as well. So Sky will have taken up the naming rights, so it'll be known as the Sky Super Rugby Aotearoa competition in there, and the schedule was announced last night on the breakdown. We're seeing now with the closer ties between Sky and New Zealand Rugby. Remember, New Zealand Rugby, as part of the latest TV deal, got a percentage of Sky. We are seeing more of these announcements coming through the breakdown show exclusively on Sky ahead of being released. Then obviously all the other media picking it up from that source. So the competition will kick off on the February the 27th, that weekend, and go through to an early May final. That's right. There will be a 10-week competition like this year, with a round robin format between the 5 Super Rugby franchises, followed by a top 2 final winner takes all at the end of the competition. So that is the new structure for Super Rugby, finishing on the I think it's the 8th of May, so early May. That's if we were in normal circumstances, then the international window would open in July. So that gives you nearly a 2-month gap there, where potentially crossover games with Super Rugby AU or whatever form that takes could potentially happen. With the tournament starting slightly later, that means that the All Blacks will be available from round 1, apparently, which is obviously good news there, that they'll be available for the full competition. And as I say, potential there of that Australian crossover afterwards, with Australia only announcing yesterday, or the day before yesterday, sorry, the new TV deal with Channel 9. Obviously, we'll look forward to hearing when their competition takes place, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is in a similar window to allow for that crossover competition to take place afterwards. Don't forget, you can listen to the New Zealand Sports Radio on the go. You can download us on your favourite podcatcher. Just search New Zealand Sports Radio or on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all those wonderful places. And you have now started the day the best way, up to speed with all the important sports news. Don't forget, tonight at 8 p.m, we have the Standoff Show with Brad at 8 p.m. with his special guest for his end of season review. So do join us for that at 8 p.m. this evening.